Next in the testimony series, a drug dealer turned pastor teacher in Cerbat prison. He was born the youngest of 8 children and raised in Mexico. He was raised by his young widowed mother, who was left alone to raise her children. As a shy child, he remembers God working in his life as a boy. Because he grew up without a father, he also experienced much injustice and need. At 12 years old, he started playing sports, staying free from drugs and alcohol addictions. He said his only real addiction was women. He was influenced by the mafia cartels from Mexico. He came to the United States when he was 23. He started working selling kilos of cocaine and doing suicidal jobs to make a name for himself. He had people working under him, and as his jobs got bigger and bigger, he got noticed by the mafia bosses. He soon had clients buying huge amounts of drugs, and it was common to have a half-ton of marijuana coming to him every 3 days. At the highest point in his criminal career, something happened. He met a married couple out in the street. The wife told her husband, "God wants me to anoint him." She had a bottle of oil and asked him if she could anoint his forehead. He had a lot of doubt, but allowed her, and she spoke some words and prayers. He never saw them again. However, a week later, he was arrested, and in jail, the only thing to read was Bibles. So that is what he read. He started in Genesis, and God began to speak to him and teach him. Many of the verses moved him. He said when he read Isaiah 45, 1-7, his heart leaped, and he felt something invisible go into his chest. It was something he had never felt before, and something very difficult to explain. It happened again when he read Jeremiah 29:11. He started to realize that God exists, and this began to change his life. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison. However, the faculties he was sent to rarely had Christian services, and he became disconnected from God. In his ignorance, he asked God to give him a second chance to keep working with drugs, and that he would only sell marijuana. This was his mindset when released from prison. Looking back, he said, "Lord, have mercy on us for our ignorance." Isaiah 5:13 says, "Therefore my people go into exile for lack of knowledge." After his release, he started looking for his old clients. He made connections to sell big in New York. They wanted weekly amounts from 5,000 to 10,000 pounds of marijuana, later with cocaine. As he was getting ready to leave for New York, he was set up by the cousin of a so-called friend, and he was arrested the second time, this time with 10 pounds of meth and armed men protecting him. While sitting on the sidewalk, handcuffed and waiting for transport, he saw the sheriff's van pull up. The license plate number was 666. As he sat looking at that license plate, spiritual understanding welled up within him, and he knew then that he had been at war with the devil. He spoke out against Satan. "You don't know who you messed with. You messed with a child of God, and I'm coming against you with all my might." In that moment, his whole life changed. His first night at the county jail, the inmates had a Bible study, and God spoke to him from 1 Samuel 15:23. "For rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry." He was greatly grieved because he had also practiced witchcraft. He asked God to forgive him, from the bottom of his heart. He says, God has done so much for me, and I am grateful because my life has changed 100%. I have surrendered my life to the Lord, and thanks to him, I hate drugs with all my might. I now understand how destructive they are to society. I also understand the spiritual world, and I know that we are at war. I had a lot. I lost it all. Yet I have everything because I have God's love. During these last 8 years, he has grown in his relationship with God from being discipled to discipling others. At Cerbat prison, he teaches Bible studies 7 days a week. Some call him pastor, some teacher. Over the years, he has been encouraged to write a book with his complete testimony. I am sure it will be life-changing to all who read it. Next in the testimony series, a Huachuca prisoner says, I wish she could have met me now instead of back in the day. Until next time, bye-bye.